any of whom are in negotiations for what. We can get that, Chair, certainly. You can.
Get that.
So a progress report specifically on leaseholders.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And follow up on that before I come to Rosie. Just so we talked about the leaseholders, talked about the 35 households that have moved, 26 that are waiting to go through the void process. So who does that leave? It's presumably some people who are opting to remain, and some people who are still looking through home search, trying to find a property that works for them. So can you just give us a figure, not necessarily an exact figure, but an approximate figure for the number of people that are choosing to stay, and also the number of people who are looking to move but haven't got there yet?
Well, I can't quantify that. So, with regards to the households who have moved and the households who are pre-allocated, we have almost an exact same number of people who've been to view properties who've decided not to take them. So I think that is to date 58 households have viewed a property that they've decided they didn't want. Now the reason for that could be that they're looking because they want to move, they're looking because they're interested, they may be thinking, do I want to stay, do I want to go, what's there? So I can't quantify, because everybody's registered to move, and everybody's registered to move on the same status with the same banding with the exception of the stars. And we've had some conversations where people have said, I'm not moving, and that's very clear. There's a handful of those. We've got people who are very definite that they want to move, and then there's that range of people in the middle who are, well, not even in the middle, just quite a range of people who are registered but not bidding. And one of the things we'll be doing as a team over the next couple of weeks actually is to go out and talk to everybody who isn't bidding, so we can start to gain that picture. Did they register because they thought they should do at that time, but have decided actually they want to stay and see what that journey is. So I'm afraid I can't quantify it.
No,
it's a whole range.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But it is all 188 tenants of households that are registered, not all actively looking.
Thank you. Mine was just quite a quick one, really, and again, it was on communication. Obviously, in the early stages of us kind of looking at the issues that were happening on the Ledbury, there were quite regular concerns raised about, I suppose, how easy people were finding it to get clear information around their right to find a new property, right to return, but also day-to-day things like financial support and the progress of the repairs. I just wondered if, I mean, it sounds like a lot has been done to improve that. I just wondered if you could say a bit more about sort of how confident you are that all of those kind of communication issues have been resolved, and if you feel kind of day to day that your team do have the sort of capacity to be addressing all the queries that are coming to you from your base in the hall.
I believe yes, because the council have resources allocated to Ledbury that aren't just people who are working in the TRA hall at Ledbury. There's a collective response from the council on this. So the front face, if you like, when residents come to talk to us in the hall, we have that whole raft of resources to pull on now to help resolve those issues. In the very early days, people were asking us questions that we didn't have the answers to. I think now, mostly, we have the answers to, by exception, obviously, somebody will always ask us something that we don't know, but if we haven't been asked before or we haven't anticipated it. But we are, I think residents are, I would say residents would feel far well served with the information and the communication and our ability to resolve their problems.
Thank you.
Okay, any more from up here? No? Okay, I'm going to go to Glenn. And just want to take them one at a time. So just ask a question, then we'll come back and then ask them.
In terms of communication, that has been a lot better. The only thing is, having to go down to the hall initially, as long as people who haven't yet engaged with asking for help are identified, then I think up until recently there was a few people who hadn't engaged at all. And there's a way of ticking everyone off the list in some way.
Yeah, so, sorry. Yeah. We do have people, and we have people who don't engage because they're going about their business. I think I may have mentioned when we spoke previously how many people haven't yet come to us for a cooker because they live a different, they're eating different ways now. Not everybody cooks at home. Lots of people eat out or takeaways. There are some people who don't engage with us. We knock every door on a weekly basis. We've spoken to every household and continue to, and some people don't want to engage. But as I said just earlier, this next fortnight is an, if you like, not an extra effort, but a different way of communicating. We want to talk to everybody again about their housing options, about what their choices are, what decisions they think they want to make. No pressure on anybody. We just want to know if we can help them. But I think I'm really glad to hear you say that you think it's got better now. We do want to talk to everybody, but then there's a line. There are people who don't want us to engage. And with regards to people coming down to the hall, we've noticed a difference, as we would expect now. The heating issue is resolved, but it's colder outside, and we're getting more requests for people to go and visit at home. So that's why the officers are there, and we can just go and visit everybody at their convenience.
The only thing I'd add to that is there are very comprehensive records of all those contacts with residents, so we know who has engaged about what, so we can target those efforts at those that haven't.
I'm just going to ask you specific. Do you want to come and sit up here so I can get you on the mic? So that's a mic there. So if you both sit just in these two seats, then we'll be able to pick up with each other. So I know Glenn, Danielle and I were corresponding the other day, and she was talking about the ARAT report, and she drew my attention to the email correspondence she had with Stephanie Cryan about the need for residents to move out for the works. So I just wanted to get your feeling on how clear you felt it was that that would be the case. I'm just going to read you a paragraph here, which is: so drawing SK01 in the ARAT report says that access will be required to the concrete face on both sides of each wall, highlighted in orange, to carry out the strengthening works. This will require local removal and reinstatement of all finishes, including floor screeds, bathroom and kitchen fittings, plaster and other wall finishes, radiators and radiator pipework, electrical and any other existing services, roof finishes. This explicitly implies that residents will have to be moved, as all of these are very intrusive procedures. Now, I found that confusing.
It was made clear in the presentation, actually. The ARAT people were very clear that everyone would have to move out.
Good.
It wasn't. There's no doubt left. Even before that, there were still people saying, "Oh, I might stay." And even now, you bump into people who say, "Oh, I haven't decided if I'm going yet." From what you read out there and what we read from that, they're basically tearing it to bits and putting it together again. So obviously, best case scenario is that they can decant 2 blocks at a time. And someone can just go to the next block. But obviously, I think that in terms of the bidding, that's had a knock-on effect with the bidding. Speaking to people are now looking for their kind of home for life. On the home search, rather than somewhere temporary.
So you think people are sort of moving towards the idea of going, rather than having to come back again.
And there's a long period where they didn't know what was going to happen, so your attitude changes. And, so I think that's a situation that may reflect in the way people are bidding on home search.
But ARAP have been clear, and the residents
have been very, very clear.
It's clear that they're moving out, but there's just maybe a few that haven't been around when that information was passed on, or haven't quite clicked yet that that's what's going on.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, there's 150 households left.
It's huge.
Maybe 40, 50 came to the presentation. So there's always going to be a minority who are still going to find it a shock in 6 months' time.
and that's partly the reason why we're going to have that extra concerted effort in this next fortnight to make sure that we do communicate with everybody. And then, of course, on the other side of that, we now do have the right to return that's implemented. Yeah. For those who move who want to come back. That's great.
I'd also add to that the letter from Councillor Cryan, which went out on the 22nd of November, does say that the extent of the works required in each property means it would be very intrusive and not possible to carry them out without asking people to move out of their flats. That's very clear on that point.
Yeah, good, yeah. Yeah, no, that was just something from someone who couldn't be here tonight, so I agreed that I would read that out. Do you have any further questions that you'd like answered this evening?
There was two things actually. One, we spoke to the Arup team again when they came the day after, and they hadn't been considering the fire safety aspect in the report they'd done. Obviously, if you read the report, it looks as if the work they would do to the blocks would go some way naturally to partly solving that anyway, pulling the kind of panels back together and tightening them. But it would be nice maybe to hear, either if us on the resident project team contacted them or you guys, to get some clarification from Arup, seeing as they spent so much time looking at the building, to maybe do a little bit more work around the specific compartmentalisation issue, rather than seeing as that as a separate thing, which we are at the moment, I think.
Okay.
That would be interesting.
Well, Stephen, would you be happy to pass that back to Stephanie and just see what's possible there?
And I'll talk to Tony Hunter.
Great. Thank you, Joe.
One more thing. Yeah. The identical blocks in Hammersmith and Fulham, Hartop and Lanark Point, they're now on the 24-hour fire warden system, the same as us, and Arup have been involved with them. We're just going to say there were some issues with Arup getting hold of details of our blocks from Southwark Council and previous GLC records. Would your team be in contact possibly with Hammersmith and Fulham?
We have, as soon as this happened, actually we notified the Department for Communities and Local Government. They're doing some work around this in terms of bringing together other authorities that have similar blocks. So we've shared everything we know nationally, actually.
But I mean, in terms of the other way, because they would have got their blocks at the same time as Southwark from the GLC. Hammersmith and Fulham Council itself may have records, because Arup said that they couldn't find, there weren't detailed drawings and stuff.
Okay, well, if that is everything,
I think it's worth making a couple of points also that actually at that meeting on the 23rd with Arups, the residents there spontaneously from the floor proposed a vote of thanks for the council moving so fast on the hot water and heating solution, and I got a spontaneous round of applause from people, and I think that's really an indicator that they have moved fast on that to address that particular issue. And I think it's worth noting as an independent outsider. A second issue is on the bidding and the delays. The block you're proposing to buy from Hyde is just across the road, but by the looks of it won't be ready till about February, March. And I think a lot of people have held back from bidding expecting that because they thought it might be Southwark's by Christmas. And if it is yours by Christmas, it may be worth trying to open a couple of show flats there January time to get people in and see them, because they're going to be much smaller in space standards than Ledbury, and that's one thing that may turn people off, because of course Ledbury is quite generous space standards that believe that era it tends to be. But they still be suitable as temporary homes, and the attraction is you don't have to move your kids' schools, etc. So I think there's things can be done on that front. Another thing that worried me at a couple of the meetings was that although the Arup report says the blocks are structurally safe in extreme accident like explosion of a gas cylinder or an accident, that's what the strengthening is needed for. And some residents seem to think there were people there who had oxygen cylinders in their homes, and housing thought they weren't aware of that. and I think that's something that needs to be, they need to be very clear about.
I can give some assurance if I can, Chair.
Yeah, please.
We'd already identified households who we knew had oxygen cylinders. So gas cylinders immediately had been banned by us anyway. And then when the oxygen cylinders, there was nobody in any of the 4 blocks who had oxygen cylinders. There was, on that evening, I think there was some anecdotes that we then, and I mean immediately on that night, oh yeah, I used to have one 2 years ago, I haven't needed it anymore. We've subsequently gone through the blocks to those vulnerable households. There is one household who may need to use an oxygen cylinder for a particular medical purpose, isn't now, but is fully on board with letting us know should that occur, and we will resolve a different housing solution for that family, because if they need to use that, clearly they can't do that in that property. And with regards to the non-resident leaseholders, we've written and explained to them very clearly that it's a responsibility of ours and of theirs to make sure that their tenants do not try to bring in the oxygen cylinders or any gas cylinders or anything. And when they change tenancies, please let us know so we can have the fire risk meeting with the households. And I can give an assurance as of that night, because we didn't leave it, we just went and resolved it. And currently there is nobody living in the blocks with oxygen cylinders. And we've communicated that quite heavily in letters to households, and it's been in the newsletter 2 weeks in a row. Yeah.
I think that's good to know, because it was people's concerns. And one more thing I wanted to mention was just that everyone knew we were waiting for the audit report on the 20th of November, and then we would move to the next stage. But of course the audit report has now led to the need to have an options appraisal, and when are the options going to be assessed. So there's still delays, well, not delays, inevitable parts of the process that still leave people a bit in the dark, if you like. And as Glenn's mentioned, one option might be, decant 2 blocks, do 2 at a time, etc. We still don't even know the economic costs of doing the strengthening works that have been identified. So these sort of things will inevitably cause delays and will leave people feeling they're in a state of uncertainty. But that's the nature of it.
Thank you very much. Martin, you?
Just a quick question. You mentioned earlier that there are a group of residents who are not engaging, but would you say with confidence that none of those persons have a oxygen? Or,
no.
Right,
when I say not engaging, I might mean that they're not bidding, or they're not particularly bothered about what's going on environmentally around them. Right. We have spoken to everybody. We've spoken to every single household, and we do so on a very regular basis. And some people invite us in to talk to us about housing issues for an hour. Some people say, I'm fine today, thank you very much, I know where you are if I need you. But I can assure you, with those oxygen cylinders, we've taken that very seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really good to hear progress. Thanks as well to the resident and to the residents. I can't remember what
independent advisors.
Thank you. So thank you very much. And we haven't got a meeting now till the end of January, so it's quite a while until you'll be back with us again. But from Scrutiny, we agreed that this would come here and to stay here, so you will have every opportunity to address concerns with us. But I know that you've got others as well, so we're not expecting you to bring us back a list of things at the end of January, because it'll be ongoing elsewhere. But please do use that opportunity should you wish to come back and tell us anything you want to at that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.